Good evening, Board of Managers, Dr. Castro, and district staff. The time is 6:02 p.m. on this September 26, 2017. I call the meeting of the Edgewood ISD Board of Managers to order. I will call the roll. Vice President Frank Espinosa,
Present.
Secretary Stella Camacho,
Here.
Board Member Timothy Payne,
Here.
Board Member Richard Santoyo,
Here.
President Roy Soto, I'm here as well. Let the record show that a quorum of the Board of Managers is present. This meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. Could everyone please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and the pledge to the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance. Thank you. We will begin with presentations and discussion. Superintendent Dr. Castro, you have the floor. Excuse me, we do have two individuals that would like to address the board. We have Ms. Amanda Casillas Gallegos. You will have 3 minutes. Ms. Gallegos wants to mention Memorial versus Kennedy graduation, I believe a situation that occurred. Yes, sir.
This is the public hearing, just for the record, Juan Cruz, General Counsel for Edgewood ISD. So at this time, the proper thing is to have a motion to open the public hearing.
Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
Yes, I have a motion. I motion to open the public meeting.
Do we have a second? Do we have any discussion? Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board Member Timothy Payne seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. The public hearing is now open.
And just also for the record, if we can read the public hearing and what the hearing's about as stated on the agenda, and then we can begin with the speakers.
Notice of the public meeting of the Edgewood Independent School District Board of Managers following invited public input. Date and time, Tuesday, September 26, 2017, beginning at 6:05 p.m., Place District Conference Center, 1930 Herbert Lane, San Antonio, Texas, 78227. Yes, sir.
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Dr. Castro, staff, and community. Today, we're here with a presentation on a notice of public meeting to review the performance of Optional Flexible School Day 2016-2017. Optional Flexible School Day program is a program for students who are identified as dropouts or were in non-attendance at the time of approval. The data for 2016-17 is broken down by Kennedy, Memorial, and district total. We had a total of 32 students graduate out of a total of 53 students who were enrolled in the program. 20 of the 33 were from Kennedy, and 12 of the 20 were from Memorial. The 32 graduates represented 60% graduation. The year before, in 2015-16, we had 8 out of 26 students graduate. 8 students graduate out of 26. So our numbers quadrupled in terms of the numbers graduating. All students that are in this non-traditional piece met graduation requirements, and total students had approximately 952 days of attendance that would generate additional funding. These are students who don't meet the traditional 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day for school, 8 periods. They have some challenges in their lives that they're able to come for a certain amount of time, sometimes in 4-hour blocks, and we adjust the schooling for them. These students, had they been in a traditional setting, would have been penalized for attendance and not attendance all day long. The summary of performance basically results with us looking at 33 students graduating, and the goals will be for our students to meet graduation requirements and recover current dropouts and enroll them in the optional flexible school day program. We approximately have about 60 to 70 students, campuses, that we need to go out and recruit and bring back to school and enroll them in a program that is tailored to their needs. The second piece is public hearing for community input for the optional flexible school day for 2017-18 for this year. Again, as we stated, it allows students to attend schools in flexible hours, and our goal is to keep them from dropping out, or if they are planning on dropout, or they have dropped out, or if in case they're behind school work, they're able to catch up on those days. The other piece is that we've developed a handbook and a series of interviews and questions for students to ensure that they qualify for this particular program. This is not a program where we want people to go from the traditional school to come to this area, only if they have certain constraints or involved in certain situations. The applications are all reviewed by the counselor, the student support director, and the principal. And once a student is scheduled, they're automatically put into this program. We also have on the website, we have dropout prevention, we have the optional flexible program. We currently have a program called Accelis, not A+, that we're utilizing, and we brought that in this year. They have face-to-face courses. Certified teachers are used to teach these students, allows us to build a flexible day, but more importantly, allows our students to graduate and to also increase our. At this time, open for questions.
Board members, do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chavez, this is open to students outside of the district also that qualify?
This is currently offered for our students in district. However, we've had some students who have requested to come into this program, and again, we look on them on an individual basis.
Do we have any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Chavez.
Yes, sir.
We're now open for public comments. Yes, ma'am. Pertaining to this particular subject.
I was going to speak about different subjects, though. Okay. The issue that I wanted to bring up today to the superintendents and to the board members is the situation between Memorial and Kennedy. For years, there has been a rivalry back and forth, and lately it seems that it has been getting a little bit more dominant because of the fact that Memorial seems to be pushed towards the precipice, I should say, that they get everything. They've gotten the STEM program, they've gotten the culinary school, and they've gotten a lot of other, their band got to go to Florida last year. And it's not just a situation with band, but the whole thing is this is a new board. So I'm hoping that the new board will realize that these are educational kids that are, the one is at the level up here and the other one is at the level down here. They need to equally be balanced. What happens for Memorial needs to happen for Kennedy. What happens for Kennedy should be happening for Memorial. In the sense that my son at the 8th grade level was asked to become in a STEM program. And unfortunately, he was at Brentwood and he was literally told he would have to take a bus to Memorial to be able to get into the STEM program. He was able to get into a construction program that was offered, and now he's going on to become a mechanical engineer. But at the same time, the STEM program was not offered to him. Another issue is the fact that my son has a lot of learning disabilities. And the whole thing is that there needs to be more learning disabilities open for students that have that situation. He was very lucky. He was able to graduate this year with National Honor Society. The graduation fiasco that I wanted to discuss with you all about was the fact that he walked onto the stage and onto the graduation area, and in the program, his National Honor Society was missing. He was ridiculed by students that literally told him, "Why are you wearing that?" And I'm glad that he responded back, "Because I earned it." But the whole thing is when I saw him after he left and he came out, he was very disappointed. He literally told me, "I will never raise my kid in this district." So you're losing individuals that way. And you have to realize too that their needs, their situation, that should not have happened. There should have been somebody that should have been and answered for that situation. One good thing that I want to finally bring to good news, my daughter, 2012 graduate, she's a UIW graduate, and she graduated with 3 degrees, international studies, a minor in reading and a minor in Korean, has now been hired by a South Korean private school and will be leaving Tuesday to teach as an education teacher in Korea. I'm very happy. She also knows 5 languages, and all of this happened in this district. So there's both of them are succeeding, and this is from this district. But don't fail other students. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We have a Mr. Patrick McKinley. Mr. McKinley wants to address making a difference.
Doing board. My name is Patrick McKinley, and I am the CEO and founder of We Are Making a Difference, located on the west side of San Antonio. And we run a food pantry and everything, and we're in the old Carver building over there. That used to be the old Carver Elementary School back in the 40s, where the first school where the blacks had to go to during segregation days. And I'm coming to address the board to tell them thank you for helping us revitalize that building and keep our history going over there. Mr. Martinez is planning on putting a basketball court, a playscape, putting another portable over there so we can do after-school learning and teaching and stuff for the computer lab. I want to thank the board for working with Making a Difference and continue to better our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKinley. Do we have anyone else that would like to make a comment?
Just for the record and the public to know that there's no public comment on the regular board agenda that starts at 6:30 p.m. So if anybody's here that wants to make a public comment on this specific subject or any subject, this is the time, because if not, the public hearing will close, and the regular board meeting does not have public comment listed on there. So if anybody in the audience, this is the time to public comment at this point. But if there's no other public comment, then we would need a motion to close the public hearing and adjourn this public hearing.
Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
A motion to close public hearing.
Do we have a second? Board Member Richard Santoyo moves. Board Member Timothy Payne seconds. Do we have any discussion? We have no discussion. The public hearing is now closed. He told him. You can start. So this is. Well, which, this cuts.
Yeah.
But he's right. He knows. So I'll have- Well, because. Citizens. Get this agenda. Could be.
Hi, sir. How are you?
We'll just have. Stella.
I didn't know.
On a scooter, I think a wagon. A wagon. Or the pooper scooper.
Oh, yeah.
What's-
No, he just
Oops,
called
what
and
is
said.
the poop station? It's where the people who can't make the whole run,
I
they
think he
put
was
them in
trying to
this,
get a.
like a van, like a, what is it they use for all the drugs? Hey, what is it, paddy wagon? I forgot what it's called.
He told me, I'm gonna tell Richard bring.
But it's not, once.
We can rent one of those scooters, man. People beat us. Dude, I need to cover it. 5 minutes. Oh, yes, I need to shut up. Wait, I was, or whatever. Open. Who was that?
You doing there? There?
Are you, sir?
How you doing, sir?
Uh-oh, that's not good.
Good luck, sir.
So
Take
I
care.
don't think she'll be able to.
Left it open.
They were playing where, Jefferson? They were.
What's right here when the
The time is now 6:32 p.m. on September 26th, 2017, and I called a meeting of the Board of the Edgewood Independent School District Board Managers to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. I will now call the roll. Vice President Frank Espinosa,
Present.
Secretary Stella Camacho,
Here.
Board Member Timothy Payne,
Here.
Board Member Richard Santoyo.
Here.
Board President Roy Soto's here as well. All members are present and are accounted for. Before we continue with the agenda, I would like to share a few words. Your Board of Managers is extremely proud of the achievements that our superintendent, his leadership and management team, and every staff member in the district, and every staff member in the district have accomplished. The board has listed 17 district achievements and initiatives of the past year that any district would be very proud of. Please look at the screen. I'll list just a few. All campuses have met standard for the first time in nearly a decade. All campuses were staffed at 100% for the first time in nearly 20 years. The STEM Academy is expanding to become a STEAM Tech Academy. Opening of 2 early college high schools at Memorial and Kennedy High School. We have launching partnerships to become a K-12 coding and robotics district. Awarded a $1.5 million design grant from Memorial High School, one of only 10 schools in the state to receive this award. 6 schools are applying for internal charter status based on campus innovation. Opening of the Burleson Innovation and Education Center for Special Education Excellence. Developing plans to become a district of innovation. The Edgewood Police Department has established and expanded a community police resource unit that engages students and families with social, physical, and economic needs so that they can concentrate on academics. These are just a few. Thank you, Dr. Castro and team, for an outstanding foundation and start to 2017. I am also extremely proud of your Board of Managers. They have tackled every task required of them and risen to each challenge. They have put in many hours of time and have worked diligently and effectively. They have reviewed many issues, respectfully questioned and challenged our leadership and management team, and focused on goals to strengthen our culture, develop our team, and move our schools forward toward excellence. We are proud of our present progress and look forward to many more achievements. We would like to thank our former board manager, Ms. Amanda Gonzalez, for her time on the board, her dedication and hard work, and for her contribution to these district achievements. We would like to welcome Mr. Timothy Payne, our new board member. Mr. Payne is a graduate of our schools. He attended Winston Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, Wren Middle School, and Edgewood High School. He's a very respected member of our community. Mr. Payne is retired and currently serves on the board of Habitat for Humanity. We are delighted to have him on the board and are looking forward to his involvement and contribution. Thank you, Mr. Payne, for answering the call to serve.
Tom, would you go ahead and load the PowerPoint presentation for Lone Star Governance? Thank you.
TEA Lone Star Governance. Transparency, accountability, confidence, and trust are essential governance elements necessary to effectively align a district with its stakeholders. I'm going to walk us through the process that we follow prior to convening at a typical board meeting. At a workshop, prior to board meetings, typically 2 weeks prior, we review and discuss the more complex and our technical board agenda items. This enables the board to ask as many questions as necessary to feel comfortable with our understanding of the material. In addition to a workshop, the board receives their board book with agenda items along with all the support information necessary to understand the proposed initiatives 5 to 7 days prior to the actual board meeting. At this point, the board has those 5 to 7 days to submit questions to the superintendent for clarity on any agenda item, ensuring every board member has ample opportunity to be fully informed. If the board conducts due diligence, taking full advantage of all the opportunities to question and challenge agenda items prior to the board meeting, there will probably only be a reasonable number of questions left to ask and answer after staffing makes their presentations at the board meeting. At this point, each individual board member should be adequately prepared to make informed voting decisions. This process enables the board to be more efficient and effective at board meetings. All workshops and board meetings are posted and open to the public to attend. Let's take a look at a few slides and touch on some of the broader aspects of Lone Star governance. Lone Star governance is an education structure and process intended to promote continuous improvement, enables organizational alignment. The board, the superintendent, the executive team, and all staff members are all intensely focused on improving student outcomes. Texas Framework for School Board Development focuses on 5 points. In addition to vision, accountability, and structure, the board focuses on advocacy and unity. The board is also responsible for adhering to state and local law and governing fiscal responsibility. The Lone Star Governance Integrity Instrument distinguishes between inputs, outputs, and outcomes. An example would be, if you're hungry and you're thinking of a way to satisfy your hunger, you might decide to make a sandwich. The ingredients, the bread, the meat, the lettuce, tomatoes, and mustard are your inputs. Your completed sandwich is your output. Now you eat your sandwich and your outcome is a satisfied hunger. The integrity instrument also monitors student outcome. It also distinguishes between program project evaluation and performance evaluations. The integrity instrument promotes understanding the concept of student outcome goals and constraints. Effectively hold the superintendent accountable for improving student outcomes. And develop Lone Star governance timelines, including performance measures. Edgewood vision statement: for every child, success in life. Edgewood proud. Our mission statement: Edgewood ISD provides an exceptional learning experience that engages, empowers, and prepares students to compete and reach their highest potential in an ever-changing world. Mr. Chavez will address Lone Star governance with much more detail. Mr. Chavez?
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Dr. Castro, staff, and community. Today we'll hear a presentation on the Lone Star Governance September 2017 report. As Mr. Soto so eloquently explained the tenets of Lone Star governance, I want to go into the reported piece because part of that is identifying what those student outcome goals are, identifying what the goal progress measures are, and then also to provide some constraints and then constraint measures as we measure each of these areas as we move forward. The first piece is goal 1. And that was looking at grades, students in grades K-3, looking at their reading levels. This falls along line with our improved literacy component of our strategic plan. The goal is to move from 54% to 64%. I do want you to note that on the left-hand side, we have previous historical data, and on the right-hand side is the 5-year goals set as a requirement for Lone Star governance. If you notice, the green lines are above the blue lines in the next 4 slides. The green lines represent students who have been with the district the entire year. The students in the blue are students who we only had at the beginning or for some time, not the entire year. And we note that the students are the green line, students who've been with us throughout the year, perform much better in all 4 scenarios that we're going to look at. What we decided to do is look at goal 1, but we also have goal progress measures individually to look at each grade level. For kindergarten, we're looking at their grade level to go from 55 to 64. Grade 1 will be monitoring. That number was 52 to 64. Grade 2, 58 to 64, and grade 3, 51 to 64. At the end of the day, by year 2022, we should be reached our initial goal for reading in grades A through 3. The second goal that was established by the Board of Managers was looking at the percentage of students in grades 3 through 8. Their standard on the reading test, STAR, will increase from 61 to 68% by the year 20. In these series of slides, you will see on the left-hand side, denoted in the blue, is the Edgewood trend, historical trend. Many of these pieces go back to 2013. At the top, you'll note in purple the state averages. On the right-hand side, of course, is the prediction from 61 to 68%. We will be reporting out on the year of 2017-2018 against these standards in all cases. This is the composite for grades 3 through 8. Composite for grades 3 through 5, separated out of the control. And difference will be 62% to 68%. In grades 6 through 8, we tease that particular group of data out to look at the middle school, and that will increase from 58 to 68%. The next component is goal 3, which is a 4-year longitudinal graduation rate. Those students who have graduated, continued in school, or have received their GED will increase from 87.4% to 90%, and we are utilizing class of the previous year that will be reporting out. And normally this is how TEA reports this information. Graduation rate and attendance rate always fall 1 year. In this case, we have the same statistics on the left-hand side and on the right-hand side, growth. Goal 3.1 progress measure is looking specifically at the 4-year longitudinal college and career readiness graduates, increasing from 73.8% to 82%. Last 21 reported in. I want to point out to you that huge jump that both Edgewood ISD in blue and State in purple made between the year 2013 and 2014. That was attributed to including career and technical education courses, which must applaud the state for doing that, because it's very important that we have students in a coherent sequence that are able to garner industry certifications and maintain a continuous program throughout their high school career. This particular piece denotes the right-hand side moving to 82% district. Goal progress measure 3.2, the attendance rate increasing from 93.0 to 94.5 by 20. This is an area, along with the college and career readiness pieces that you saw previously, that are included in our strategic plan. So wholly, these pieces are identified in that particular plan and are included in the Lone Star governance. Constraint progress measure 1.1 looks at the number of TEA designated high-needs campuses, less than 2 experience, will decrease to 0% by the as Dr. Castro and Mr. Soto mentioned previously, we have, all schools have met standard, and as a result, we have one school who is in former improvement required, and that stands this year, 2017, at 1. And our goal will be by 2022, if not by next year, or the end of this year, to go down to 0. Constrained progress measure 3.1 is an area that we're going to look at more closely as we look at the Lone Star governance constraint number 3. But this particular constraint looks at the turnover rate of teachers leaving the district will decrease from 26.9% to 21.2%. We have, you notice in purple again, we have the state historical trend. I'd like to point out on this particular measure that we have gone to 22% just by the end of this year. We were fully 16 percentage points above the state. And I want to state that if indeed the 5-year goal is met within the year, then new goals will be set, and this is in all areas. So these are the data sources and that we utilize for goals 1, 2, and 3, and also for constraint 1 and 2. And I'd like to thank at this time the academics department, our research and evaluation department, and our human resources department for compiling this data in a timely manner such that we can present and measure. On one final note, one of the pieces that we will do for October, at the end of October, is provide a quarterly report. And right now they have our leaderboard where the district, the highest district in the state, I believe, is at 5, I believe. Here's our projected, this is the draft, our projected October quarterly report, and we're sitting about 65 points at this point. So I just wanted to give you an update for that. Thank you very much.
Board members, do we have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chavez, regarding the teacher turnover, just a quick question. Other than maybe pay being a reason, are we addressing the reasons as a whole? Have we done research to find out in the past why we've had the turnover and maybe setting something in place to help that, to avoid it?
I'd like to bring the expert who really brought that number down.
So teacher turnover is often obviously there's several factors that go into it, but one of the major factors is support. New teachers coming into a district need a tremendous amount of support to be successful, and often employees leave because what they perceive to be a lack of support. So we have greatly increased teacher support through partnerships with academics and all of the infusion of support through instructional coaches on the campus, as well as onboarding processes that really sort of follow up with employees through their first year of employment to make sure that their needs are being met, that we connect them with needed resources, and that we're touching base and surveying them basically to find out how are you doing and what do you need from us.
Board members, do we have any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Chavez. Superintendent, Dr. Castro, you have the floor.
Yes, sir, Mr. President, members of the board, staff, and guests. Want to continue this evening with the preliminary 2017 accountability results. It's important to note these are preliminary. The state of Texas does not certify and make them final till later on in the fall, generally in October, sometimes as late as November. But we do want to bring to you where we stood and with the accountability with the state of Texas. I'm going to ask Mr. Chavez to walk us through this preliminary accountability report.
Good evening, board members, committee members, staff. The 2016-17 EISD state accountability results starts off with one particular resounding result and that is that all campuses at this point have met their accountability standards. So I'd like to congratulate our campus. That in itself is a milestone, as President Soto stated earlier, that it was 10 years making. And we do feel that that's going to be the trend from now on. One of the pieces that is pretty much the quintessential document that outlines accountability rating is this particular document here. It outlines for 2017 the accountability piece for all the different areas. So what I want to do is I want to just take this apart. But before I do, I want to briefly go over what the indexes are for 1, 2, and 3, and 4 as part of the performance system for 2017. Index 1, in a nutshell, is student achievement, and the target sits at 60, but that's been static for some time. Index 2 measures student progress. This is an area where we want to see how the individual students on the campus have gained over a year's time, and we're able to gauge that, and that's really important. We not only want to make sure that they've met that standard, ladies and gentlemen, we want to ensure that each individual student had a growth equivalent of at least a year for that particular grade level. So Index 2 is our student progress. Index 3 looks at closing the performance gaps. These are looking at the economically disadvantaged students and our two lowest performing race ethnicity groups, which is basically we have one, which is the Hispanic group. And of course, we met 15 out of 15 in this area. Index 4 is a post-secondary readiness measure for all areas. Elementary, it measures the students who meets grade level or 2 or more subjects. High schools, it's the graduation rate. Make sure that they have the graduation plan in place. And for our other schools, all schools, is post-secondary readiness. And of course, we had 15 out of 15 campuses meet this index. So we're extremely pleased with this. So let's look at that document again. In this particular piece, the top of that document, the very first piece says it all. Met standard for Edgewood ISD. And Met standard is on, you can see on the left-hand side, those 4 areas are the 4 indexes, and did not meet standard on none. And one of the provisos at the very bottom is that we can meet standard 1 or 2 for a campus and for a district. In this case, we met both. This particular graphic allows constituents of the state of Texas and of Edgewood ISD to look at each individual index by student achievement, looking at what that score is, and be marked by the green bar, and then on the bottom where the arrows are shows what the actual score was. And by far, you can see we met the 61, index 2, 33, index 4, 70. So we were well above those areas. For performance index summary, this gives you an idea of the numbers or the metrics of how they calculated this score, and simple mathematics here looking at in the points served divided by the number of maximum points in divided. And we came up with a 61, 33, 34, effectively. This piece of data provides you with how those individual areas were calculated, talks about what areas we see growth in, and how those numbers were actually compiled. And it breaks them down for the 4 indexes. The index performance also has us look at the number of campuses of distinction, right, for 2017 and compared to 2016. Of course, we have 18 campuses, all campuses. We increased the number of campuses that have distinctions. We're going to talk about that. We went from improvement required 1 to 0. So we're very proud of those numbers. Nonetheless, there's areas that we have to look at and target, and this particular graphic provides you the areas that we need to look at, those areas that we have increased in are in the green, those areas that had a slight drop, pink, and those areas that are red, we need to target those areas. So this really teases out the grade levels. And of course, this is last year, so we have to look at that particular current grade level, look at the practices, and then look at how that cohort is doing this year. As I mentioned before, we had distinctions. 7 campuses earned at least 1 distinction. And this is the breakdown. Memorial had 2 distinctions. One in science, social studies. Brentwood had 1 in social studies. Cisneros Elementary had 5 distinctions. That was by far the greatest number. So kudos to Cisneros. And you can see it's in reading, science, top 25% student progress, closed the achievement gap in post-secondary reading. Gardendale, received top 25 student progress. One thing about Gardendale, caveat, they increased 45 points across the board, which was a significant increase. Kudos to Gardendale. Quest for stars. L.B. Johnson, 1 star in academic achievement in science. Loma Park, 2 in closing achievement gap, post-secondary readiness. And Roosevelt, top 25%. So, this area is called system safeguards, and this is the last area that I want to chat with you about. As I mentioned, this is pretty much the areas that we need to look at and grow in. Those areas in the red, those system safeguards are at parity with the state standard. And before they were at 100%, so most, if not all, districts were not meeting these, so they brought these down to parity. Finally, I want to do comment on the HB 5 community and student engagement case. Overall rating was recognized. I do want to say this for this particular indicator. Based on recent legislation, this case report will not be required for 2017-18. Thank you for your indulgence. Again, all the data that the board has was compiled in this 2017 district accountability results. I'd like to thank Dr.
Being able to work together in projects, students talking together, multiple response strategies, and I'll close with this. Having students sit at desks all day is not a good strategy. Having them stand up and interact with each other gets blood flowing to the brain. So these are multiple response strategies that research indicates are a big success for students achieving high outcome goals. Additionally, nothing in research indicates greater outcome performance in student success than teachers effectively planning together and then planning their work around student needs, often accomplished through professional learning communities when teachers plan together. So having a measure where teachers are planning and working together for positive student outcomes, well, I make these points to say student outcomes as measured by the state assessment is one way, but that's not the only way to measure quality, effective teachers.
Board members, do we have any questions?
Our first vote will be as presented, and then we'll do a second vote with the amendment.
Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve item F, consideration and approval of the second reading of the Lone Star Governance Policy.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Do we have any discussion? Oh, excuse me.
And for the record, there's really, Ms. Camacho, we can do it as amended so that you
Oh.
could just take one vote altogether.
Thank you.
Vice President Espinosa, would you like to modify your motion?
Yes, I motion to approve item F, consideration and approval of the second reading of the Lone Star Governance Policy with the new amendment on the revised constraint 3.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Vice President Frank Espinosa moves. Secretary Stella Camacho seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we don't have any discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. Dr. Castro, the Lone Star governance, just for clarification, it's something that TEA is requesting of all school boards throughout the state of Texas. Is that correct? We are just one of the starters of it.
That's correct. So just as a point of clarification, Lone Star Governance is what the Texas Education Agency is, will be asking all school boards in the state of Texas to eventually go through. They have adopted, I shouldn't say adopted, they are working currently with 26 school districts in the state of Texas around Lone Star governance philosophies, goals, and actions to include monitoring and progress measures. Why is this important? With about 1,029 or so school districts in the state of Texas, there are a lot of governance actions that take place through boards across the state. What TEA is seeking to do is support boards in staying more focused on student outcomes. And so we are part of the initial 26 school boards in the state that are working on focusing efforts and time on student outcomes and working on some of the back stuff, some of the back information through workshops and other items so that the majority of our time is on student outcomes. So long answer to your short question is yes, the state of Texas will be encouraging all school boards to go through the Lone Star Governance training and adopt their own version of what Lone Star Governance should be.
Superintendent Dr. Castro will continue with action items. You have the floor.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. I'm going to ask Mirna Martinez to give you a brief presentation on the Bexar County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Every taxing entity in every county in the state of Texas has the opportunity to nominate members for the Bexar County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Every taxing entity gets votes commensurate with their, or equal to the taxing ability. Today, you have an opportunity to either nominate board of directors or to wait till the actual election ballots come out and then vote for the board of directors. So that's what we'll be asking you to consider today, either waiting for the list of ballot to come out or to nominate someone. I will ask Mirna to give a brief presentation and then to see what your pleasure is for this evening with the Bexar County Appraisal District Board of Directors. Mirna?
Good evening, Board President, members of the board, Dr. Castro, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Castro eloquently said it all. We have an opportunity, no, thank you. We have an opportunity to nominate up to 5 individuals to represent Edgewood ISD at the Bexar Appraisal Board. What the appraisal district does is they allocate votes. The district has 26 votes. So whether we nominate anyone from the district to represent us at the Bexar Appraisal District, we would still have the opportunity to cast 26 votes during election time. At this moment, the board has an option of nominating 1 to 5 individuals or no individuals to run for the board, or simply wait for the ballot to come out and cast 26 votes at that time. So if we have no one, do you have questions, Ms. Camacho? That's okay.
No, we were given the opportunity earlier.
Yes, ma'am.
But I didn't know if there was qualifications for that.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
A district resident?
Yes, ma'am. So if you have any nominations tonight, we will include them as part of the ballot. If you do not have nominations, we will send the action item tonight just to let them know that we do not have nominations. The appraisal district will send back a ballot regardless, and you will have an opportunity to cast votes for the board that will eventually be elected for the appraisal district.
Board members, do we have any nominations?
Does the individual have to be present?
No, ma'am.
Accept the nomination?
No, ma'am.
And I think that's a great question, Ms. Camacho. You can nominate whomever within the community. At that point, the nomination goes onto the ballot, but that person still can choose to not accept the nomination.
They don't.
Now, if they're nominated, they get placed on the ballot, correct?
If they're nominated, I apologize. If they're nominated, they get placed on the ballot. So all the nominees will be on the ballot that will then come back to the district. So you will get the opportunity to vote on everyone that was nominated from all districts. Then there are 5,000 votes that will be cast. Edgewood has 26 of those votes, and what they do is prorate the votes based on our tax levy. We're a small district, so our levy's small. We have 26 of the 5,000 votes. So whomever's nominated this evening and every other district, they will be placed on a ballot. The ballot is then compiled and sent back to school districts for a vote at a later date. And we expect to get that latter part of October. Once all of these names are submitted, we should get the ballot, the list of the nominees by October, and the vote will happen in about December.
Do we have any other questions? Board members, do we have any nominations?
An Edgewood residents, Norma Aro, Haro. An Edgewood resident, Joey Cipriano. And also Edgewood resident, Rudy Lopez.
Board members, do we have any other nominations? I think those are our nominees.
Take action to
Okay.
make sure that everyone
Okay.
agrees, yes.
So we need to have a motion. Macho? Would you like to make a motion?
I motion to accept the nominations of Rudy Lopez, Joey Cipriano, and Norma Aro to the district board, excuse me, I'm sorry. District, Bear Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Secretary Stella Camacho moves. Board member Richard Santoyo seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Since we don't have any other items on the agenda, the time is now 7:24. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion we adjourn.
Do we have a second? Board member Richard Santoyo moves. Board member Timothy Payne seconds. Do we have any discussion? If we have no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.